QTV this morning, and I am Jenna Bosonko, and we hope that you're enjoying your public holiday and had a good Independence Day celebration yesterday. And I'm here with my amazing co-host, Ibrahim Abalde. Thank you so much for being here. And our current affairs review guest, Mr. Ade Drami. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Ever smiling Ibrahim Abalde.
Yeah.
Ibrahim also Ibalde.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's it's really interesting when I share this platform with Jaina Bosonko.
Reason?
You know,
It's always interesting.
well, I don't know, for some reason.
Okay.
I find something. There's an element of happiness.
Really?
Ah,
Okay.
A
Now I'm gonna cry,
a
guys.
good chemistry.
I should
Baby,
cry.
I miss you.
I'm, oh,
I'm not gonna cry. Men don't cry,
Man,
according to what he said.
What?
Men don't cry.
yo,
You
no
know?
matter. But anyway,
Yeah.
how was your Independence Day celebration yesterday? What are some of the things you reflected on as a Gambian?
Well, actually, this year I decided not to do much or say much. I was
Okay.
at work. We
okay.
did the production for the Independence
Of course.
Right.
with Aliu Mboj and Eso Nyasi.
Right.
So we
And
were,
Choi
we,
at
we were
the-
here.
Choi
But
at the-
I reflected a lot.
Mhm.
That is 59 independence. How far have we gone as a country?
Right.
What are some of the things that are achieved as a country? You know, sometimes people will just get up somewhere and tell you, Happy Independence, with a smiley face.
Yes.
But for me, I don't smile.
Okay.
You know, the reason being, there are countries that, Gambia became independent before them. You understand?
Or at the same time.
Or at the same time. But at some point, you can see the pace they are moving.
Yeah,
We are not blaming it on Adama Barrow's government. We are not blaming it on maybe certain individuals. Maybe it's the way, the way things were going, the way it transpired. But at some point, I think we should have moved as a country. I mean, can you imagine? It's 2024. Still, some people are living in abject poverty. It's 2024. Still now, some people don't get even a proper latrine in their homes. It's 2024. People are struggling even to eat. It's 2024. Our roads are very tight.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, and I don't disagree. But what you've said is one of the reasons why I did a 25-minute documentary about Gambia from independence to now, and I mentioned all the bad things, but I think sometimes we dwell too much on the bad, and those things have happened. And I think it's not me wanting to bury my head in the sand, but I think we also need to have a kind of positive mindset about, okay, this has happened. How do we move forward? Is there a sense that we are moving forward? You mentioned people living in abject poverty. You go to somewhere like Equatorial Guinea, their president is probably the richest president in Africa, probably one of the richest men in Africa. And yet people in Equatorial Guinea live, many of them, in abject poverty. They don't have adequate schools and hospitals. And it's an oil-producing country where, as I said, the president, his son can have the French seize 14 luxury cars from him in France and sell them because they felt that it wasn't commensurate with his pay as a minister or the vice president. So that's quite stark. And that's, I think the population is even smaller than ours. I think it's 1.8 million. But yes, I think sometimes we compare ourselves unfairly to somewhere like Singapore. Became independent the same year. Our flags were raised next to each other's flags at the United Nations on the same day, 18th of September 1965. And that comparison doesn't it doesn't tell well on the Gambia when you look at where Singapore is. But I think, what do we do about it? Do we moan about it? But let's use that fact that we're upset
Mr.
to
Ali,
move forward.
Jenaba, Ade mentioned Singapore, maybe getting independence, almost the same with the Gambia.
Same here.
You understand? But at some point, we have the same, kind of people in Singapore. They are the same people living in the Gambia, people who have brain. what have they done to change their country to that extent? You know,
Well,
we all have the same thing. I mean, we all have the same thinking capacity. You know,
I mean, they had a man called Lee Kuan Yew who he kind of set the agenda for where Singapore was going to be. So today, universities and schools in Singapore are probably better than universities and schools in America and in England. And you know, I keep saying this: education really is the way forward.
Right.
You know, we shouldn't just say it. We should mean it, and we should implement it. The reason Singapore has leapt to where it is because they invested and they believed in education, and it has completely transformed the country. You can compare Singapore to almost anywhere in the world, and Singapore would not be found wanting or lacking. And you're right, but you know, do we have the determination? Do we have the mindset beyond talking about it?
Yeah.
You know, what are we going to do to make it happen? And I think that is what we need to do.
Yeah, and you know what, Mr. Ade, you talked about how the agenda was being set, you know, a long time ago. And I really agree with Mr. Ade. You're not the only person who's feeling the way you're feeling, because as a Gambian as well, you know, sometimes I look at certain things that I'm not happy about, you know, like the health sector, you know, and different areas that I see that are not moving the way it's supposed to move. But on the other hand, like Mr. Ade said, we have to be realistic when it comes to our developmental aspirations. You know, Gambia, you know, what natural resource do we even have? You know, it does not exist. We have to consider all these things. You go to countries like Nigeria, you go to countries like Kenya, for example, there are people living in abject poverty, like you mentioned.
Absolutely.
In Gambia here, you know, I've not, the kind of poverty that I saw there, I can't find that in Gambia,
Well,
in certain areas there. And
yeah.
Kenya is very, very developed, has all, like in the city, in Nairobi, there's all the infrastructure that you need, you find in UK. Like I was telling Mr. Ade when I came, some of the, you know, things that I was enjoying in UK. When I went to Kenya, I was enjoying the same thing.
Sure.
But not till I traveled a little bit around
I was gonna
Nairobi.
say, yeah.
And you can see the upper class, the lower class. You know, you can
And
clearly
even the
distinguish.
underclass, as
Yes,
they describe
and you
them.
know what?
Yeah, yeah.
In Gambia here, sometimes it's even difficult to differentiate. But in countries like that, you
It's
can
very
easily
stark.
tell that this person is from the upper class, lower class, or whatever. You can tell.
Well,
These challenges are everywhere. That is why there's a part that I appreciated about the president's speech yesterday. You know, he spoke to the children. He told, you know, the young people in uniform. He was like, we can't tell you for free that things are going to be all rosy, because sometimes they are just global challenges that affects every country. You know, when we complain sometimes, we behave like the Gambia is not, you know, in a global setting and it's going through what every other
Everybody in
country
the world
is
is
going
going
through.
through.
We do not control what happens globally when it comes to prices of commodities, you know, the flow of goods and services and all of that. We do not. So we need to be realistic in as much as we all are looking for development. So for me, the point is corruption. If we fight corruption, and like you mentioned, the education system is where it's supposed to be, we will move. But corruption, not the police officers' corruption.
No.
I'm talking about corruption
Corruption
at the top.
itself,
People controlling
the bigger corruption.
huge resources and are not doing the right
Well,
thing.
I think this, we've said it time and time again, the ongoing commissions of inquiry into local government have certainly shown us that corruption has become endemic,
Exactly.
embedded, and the norm. And as you rightly say, it makes people think, well, how far does this stretch? And unless we're serious about tackling corruption rather than just talking about tackling corruption, then it will never change.
Absolutely. Well, I think the difference why maybe other countries' poverty rate is that visible, maybe it's the population too. You know, maybe the population of the Gambia is not
Equatorial
that,
Guinea
it's
is
not that huge.
1.8 million.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's still
Yeah, so
growing.
it depends.
Yeah.
I mean, although we do not have that natural resources, but I think there are countries who, I mean, don't equally have natural resources, but they were able to at least do things that will at least empower and improve the lives of their citizens.
Cape Verde.
So that is what
They,
it is.
like us, depend on tourism for most of their foreign earnings and the diaspora. Officially, it's the only country in Africa that has more of its citizens living outside than in it. And so a lot of remittances come, but also a country of 580,000 can have 1 million tourists in a year, in 1 year. We can only dream about that in the Gambia.
Yeah.
And what have they got that we, that we don't have? They've got beaches, we've got beaches. But if you see how beautiful their beaches are and how clean they are and how clean their streets are. And I was saying to Korka, because he went to Guinea-Bissau and he was thinking of going to Cabo Verde. And I said, when I went there, I stayed at a very expensive hotel, but I almost regretted it because when I went to even the cheapest hotel,
They looked
the
good.
standard was unbelievably
Nice.
good. So those are the things that attract people and attract tourists time and time again. Like I said, we can only dream of having 1 million tourists in a year. That's like, on current
I
sort of input, in terms of tourism visitors, that we're
I
100 years from now.
hope, something will be done before the Gambia retires. That is the 60th birthday in next year.
Next year.
At least we should see something.
Also, I think it is important we reflect on the different dialogues that were being organized,
Yeah.
by the presidency ahead of the Independence Day celebration. You
Yeah,
know,
I
and
think-
different recommendations have also been made.
We are a continent of recommendations, not so much a continent of implementation. So it's great that these recommendations are being made. Are they going to be implemented? And if so, how? What's going to be the structure for implementing them? It's great to have people come together from all walks of life, from all political parties, because they all want one thing in the end. They said rain doesn't fall on one man's door. So if things happen that they're bad for the Gambia, they're bad for everybody, regardless of which political party you support. So that's why people should want the best for their own country,
Right.
regardless of your political affiliation or tribal affiliation. Or
Country first.
it's for me it's and there's a difference. And I said to somebody the other day, you should go from it being a slogan to a motto. A motto is something you try and live up to
Yes.
and live by.
Yeah.
A slogan is something you just shout. So country first, country. What the hell does that mean?
Smiling Coast.
Smiling Coast. Let's make it the Smiling Coast. Let's make it country first rather than just something that we say because, we've been indoctrinated to say it. Let's make it real,
Yeah.
And so
I think so.
for me,
part
that's
of
the
the
thing.
recommendations are, the implementation of the TRRC recommendations, the Janneh Commission of Inquiry.
They
but-
wanted the Constitution to be brought back in
Yes, the draft constitution as well. But for the Janneh Commission already, we've seen that that recommendation cannot go ahead because already the likes of different individuals that we've seen who were
That
banned
was
from
sanctioned
public
by,
office,
are
that those
holding.
bans have been removed.
Yeah.
So obviously
So,
for that,
yeah.
we don't need to go back to it.
And for me, they have the phrase in England, flogging a dead horse. If the Constitution was rejected the last time in its current form,
Right.
what makes people think it's going to be accepted again if it comes back in that same form?
No.
But that's what that was the recommendation.
No,
and I
yeah.
just don't see the logic
Yeah.
of that.
we
at all.
have to consult again.
Yeah.
I think, not in a large scale, but
Yeah, but
a
look into,
consultation has
why
to
did
be
it
done.
fail? What
What are some of the
are there things
provisions?
that we need to change
Yeah.
to make it go through this
Exactly.
time? That shouldn't, and I've said this time and time again. When you look at what was in the Constitution in terms of women's rights, in fact, I heard one guy saying that he objected to some of those things, because he didn't feel that certain rights that they were trying to enshrine in the Constitution for women. He said it goes against my religious belief. I'm like,
Really?
yeah, somebody we interviewed, you check it. It's on our news, and things like that I found really quite disturbing.
That's disturbing.
that people can say things like that.
Yeah.
And also things about disability rights
Yes.
that were in the Constitution.
Exactly.
It would have been great if that had passed.
Yeah.
But having said that, there's nothing stopping people passing laws
Mm-hmm.
for those things. So take them out of the Constitution. I don't think people objected to those, by the way.
Yeah.
But they objected to other things. In fact, now I'm even struggling to remember what they objected to. I remember we broadcast the debate live, and I was kind of scratching my head like they were even arguing about things that weren't even in the Constitution.
Yes, because they don't know. They did not read properly.
That really upset me.
Yes,
I mean, I think
that was not nice.
there was one debate about secular.
Yeah.
The word is not mentioned at all, and yet they spent 3 days arguing about that. Like, come on, guys, argue about what's in front of you.
Yeah.
So
Well, you see, at some point, that's why we are very good at implementing or doing certain things.
Right.
I mean, we are good at workshops
And validating,
trainings.
Yeah.
You
validating
understand?
workshops.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, a few months back, I think some National Assembly members were busy on trainings on how to do certain things, how to answer certain questions
yes,
and
yes.
approach certain, you know, things in the National Assembly.
Yep.
But I think if that's the case, so it's not even reflecting on what they are doing now.
No, but I think one of the reasons why they were doing that sort of training was because you had a new influx
Exactly.
of people
You
who
need
had
to
never
build their
been.
capacity.
And so, and I think that's one of the reasons why people were saying bring back the constitution, because there's a new breed of people who've now gone through this training, and they might have a different kind of mindset about how to address some of these things. So you're right. I mean, the question we started with was, how was your independence? How did you reflect?
Yeah.
But, you know, as you said, that was, and for me, I spent about 2 weeks trying to get this documentary together.
Yeah, I saw. I watched the whole documentary.
Yeah,
and I
so
liked it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And,
because you know I saw just some few elements that
Yeah.
you know kids can really learn.
Yeah,
from that.
and you know, I want people to, like I said, I'm not somebody who wants to sweep things under the carpet, but I just wish more Gambians would have a more positive mindset about their country, and that's why I took the particular slant that I took. And even in the way that I ended it, I
Yeah.
wanted to end it on a positive note
Note.
about looking forward, looking to the future, rather than looking just harking back to the past. But you're right. Come next year, when the country celebrates 60, or commemorates, as I like to say, rather
Yeah.
than celebrate, because what's there to celebrate?
Yeah.
Then there should have been some drastic and dramatic changes
Exactly.
that people can see as this will change my life. And I think that's what we should aspire to.
Yeah. So yesterday, the president, you know, delivered his speech in English and later in Mandinka, as
Mandinka.
well,
I thought
which
that
I
was
think
good.
was
I
really
thought it
good.
was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about independence. You
Yeah.
know, using our local languages.
I liked that when I
Yes.
heard him go into Mandinka.
Yeah, I liked that as well
Yeah.
when I saw that. And you know, the part where he was talking about everything will not be rosy, you know, for the children who are
have to
there.
be realistic
I think
sometimes.
Yes,
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
gave him a thumbs up. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's good that you're making this clear,
Yeah.
because we've passed the stage of making promises to these children, and then when they grow, they, you know, they're not strong enough to realize that there will be challenges in front of
And
them.
they have to prepare for it. And
Exactly.
when you let them know, it won't be easy,
Yeah.
but we can walk towards it.
It's
Yeah.
like when people get married and somebody gets up at the reception and they make a speech and they said, you know, marriage is not always easy. People just say it as a phrase, but when the hard time comes, they're like, oh, so this is what they meant, that it's not easy.
But
Because
it's
those
really
hard
scary
times will
though.
come.
It's
But it's
scary when
human
people
nature.
say that.
But it's true, and you have
But
to
I
be
think
realistic.
that's better than the guy who said to his sick friend, oh, that killed my friend last year.
Like, how can you do that? Like, honestly.
You got this? Oh my God, that killed my friend last
Yeah,
year.
that's
I think many of us have been guilty of that sort of thing.
Yeah,
You don't
like
think-
somebody's
you don't-
already in the situation.
You don't think before you.
Exactly.
You don't engage
And the
your brain.
person's going to be like, I'm not surviving then. Who does that?
That's really traumatizing.
As
Yeah,
they
that's
say,
really-
engage your brain before you open your mouth.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
worth it.
Yeah.
So the president also, during his speech, highlighted education. You know,
It's a big thing for
the
me.
the education that is going to, you know, deal with societal problems,
Yeah.
and particularly highlighting Tibet
Yeah.
education
Yeah.
and, you know, the different Tibet centers in the Gambia currently, which is a good thing. The GTI.
And
the
for me,
others.
I was, in fact, she's watching from London, Angela, my cousin, and I. We were talking about this, and I was talking about the education system here, that, you know, you try and just push people through academics when that might not be what they're best at.
Exactly.
And then when you go home, the guy who's your carpenter or your electrician has done some nonsense where your you know, the plug in the wall is leaning like this, or the carpenter has done your door and it's slanted and your windows are you know, because they haven't learned properly. You know, just somebody says, oh, I know this guy is cheap, come and do it for me, and then they do some nonsense for you and you accept it.
Yeah.
You know, we need to know that there are certain quality standards, and you know, and you know, I'm stopping myself from mentioning that other country again.
Yeah.
But when I went there, I was really impressed with how well things like electricians were, carpenters and builders.
Okay.
Gosh, they were building to what I would call first world standard.
Nice.
And it's an African country. It's not, they're not on Mars. You know, it can be done. but you need to train people to do
be
it.
able to do it.
And if you're good, that stokes competition, because I would rather go to the guy who's good rather than the guy who's cheap. Because the guy who's cheap, in a year's time, I'm going to be regretting that I because the money I didn't spend in the first place, I'm going to have to spend to repair the
Eventually,
nonsense
yeah.
that he left me
Yeah.
with. So people, don't go with cheapness, please. You're not saving money,
Yeah.
because you'll have to rectify it down the line.
True.
Yeah, I think before we leave Ibrahima, we should also take a look at Senegal before we leave, you know, with the current. We did the story where we interviewed Senegalese residing in the Gambia,
yeah.
you know, but we had divided opinions, you know. Obviously, some supported Macky Sall with whatever decision that he makes, and then you have the other group who, you know, is just frowning at some of the decisions that he's making. But the good thing is, you know, the Constitutional Council, which has the sole responsibility to make a decision
It's
in
the
relation
equivalent
to
of
this.
the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
Yes.
Has made its decision that as soon as possible, Senegal should go to elections. So we're just waiting for that
For the date.
election date to be out.
Probably early in March.
Yes.
It's likely to
For
be.
them to be able to campaign. Yeah.
So they can start campaigning now.
Yeah.
And the date will be set. And the president has said he will abide by it, which of course he has to. So
He has to.
If-
But
if-
for
if
me,
he's
like, the reason why I'm sad about this whole situation is about the fact that nobody has ever heard of or it has never happened, something like this in Senegal. It's a very stable democracy. And now, you know, all of, like, you can
Yeah.
kind of attribute the country to anything unstable.
You know,
or
That's not
I
true.
mentioned it on the program
It's
the other day. I
but-
said, okay, fine. Now, Senegal is known to be one of the most stable when it comes to democracy in our sub-region. And it's a country that did not realize coup d'etat, you understand, since independence.
that's true.
I was fearing, I mean, this is going to cause something
Yeah,
like that.
But
like
I
a
think
coup d'etat.
you know, when I discussed this on the Week in Review with Mboj, I said that myself and others, I think we've all been guilty about talking about how stable Senegal has been. It hasn't always been that way. Even from independence, Senghor was a one-party state until, 1966? And then only 1978 when they had three parties. But somebody like Abdoulaye Wade, how many times was he not arrested and jailed? You know, so let's stop this nonsense.
Okay.
Mamadou Dia,
I don't think it's nonsense.
Prime Minister,
Okay.
he was sentenced to life imprisonment under Senghor because Senghor feared him as a threat. So
My point.
there's been
no,
instability.
No. Okay, there has
No,
been
I-
Never had a
instability, but
coup
the
d'etat.
kind of
They've never had it.
instability,
I think
the
we
kind
are-
of
we are
yes, the
talking
kind of
from a different
instability that I'm talking about. I understand what you mean, and this happens to every country. Somebody's jailed when they're not supposed
And
to
not
be
just
jailed,
somebody,
and all of that.
like whole bunch of opposition
Yes.
people in the same thing that they're saying is happening to Ousmane Sonko, happened to Mamadou Dia, happened to Koli,
That
under
is true.
Senghor,
That is true.
Abdoulaye
But-
Wade under Diouf. So it's
But
it's not
the
new.
reason why we're
It's
mentioning
not new.
like its stability in this instant is, you know, the number of people who have died during this whole issue. For example, the Ousmane Sonko, the court case and all of that, we had 29 people died.
Yeah.
You know, people going on the street. Like, it's not the usual thing to see the
it-
Senegalese.
the difference now is because of social media. It's easy to galvanize people
That
all
is-
across
that
the
is
country
true.
and around the country. But trust me, I did a 5-minute thing about Senegal just because I wanted to change this perception that it's always been stable. You know,
But the stability that we mean-
Dia was accused of a coup d'etat. There was a curfew across the country. The military were on the streets detaining people because they felt there was going to be a coup d'etat. It was serious, more serious than what is happening now.
Yes,
Trust me,
but-
but just
but-
because of the internet age doesn't make
in
it
as
more
much as the
serious.
but what is the length, like the duration? Like, there are a lot of reasons
Yeah,
why.
somebody is sentenced to life
I
imprisonment.
understand that, but I'm talking about the duration
they were
of
scared of
issues
him.
But I don't
leading,
think it
because
can
it's
be
one
worse
issue
than,
to another
than
this
other countries
issue.
we are saying, Mr.
No, I'm not
It
saying
can't
no.
be worse.
It's still better than
Yes.
any of the
That's-
others.
Thank you.
Yes,
That's
But what I'm
so
saying
that's
is that
what we are trying to point
let's
at.
not pretend that it's always been Pacific.
cannot-
Obviously
that it's
not.
always
be
been
hun-
peaceful.
yeah.
Even
It's
little
been
Gambia
serious.
has had
100%.
It's been
issues.
even more serious than now. Even more serious than now. Like I said, Sonko got whatever jail term he got. Mamadou Dia got a life sentence. He got a life sentence. And he's ended up serving 12 years. So let's stop this thing that this is the most serious.
Why,
This
Mr.
is not.
Ade, they make-
No, because if you know your history, you know that this is not the most serious. It's just the noisiest and it's the loudest, and because of internet.
But
So
there
how
was-
many people died, Mr. Ade?
No, that's a different thing.
But
Many people
29
died.
people
No,
died. Like,
more than,
the number
trust
of
me.
deaths also matter.
Trust me, more than
How
29 people
fit-
died when the Mamadou Dia thing happened.
Okay, all right.
Trust me.
Okay,
You
more
know.
than 29.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
You know, I check it. I did a piece on it. I did a piece on it, a 5.5 minute piece, which we showed.
All right, it's good that you are
You know.
coming up with these things. But
No,
I
but
mean,
we need to
the
have
instability that we are
We need to
talking
have
about,
perspective. I think.
and it's different from, Senegal is known to be a country of democracy. We all know.
True.
We
Yeah,
all know, and
of course.
that was my fear for them not to.
No,
destabilize.
I felt this would lead to a coup d'etat. I have to. I mean,
felt
the
I
same
had the
thing.
discussion in
I
the
felt
office
the
with
same.
our colleague Bala, and Bala said there will never be a coup d'etat in Senegal, and I said never say never about an African country.
Right.
Certainly not when it comes to coup d'etat, because we've seen countries where until they had a coup d'etat, we thought there would never be a coup d'etat in that country. So
And Mr.
Ivory
Ade,
Coast
when
being
it
one of
comes to
them.
instabilities as well, like the fact that there was no coup d'etat as well in Senegal is part of the reasons why people deem it as unstable. Because in recent times, for example, coup d'etats can be the height of instability,
Yeah,
because
of
you're
course.
getting a president who's voted constitutionally
Yeah.
out to bring military. So that is the reason, part of the reasons why we say, oh, it's a stable
But
democracy.
It's stable. I mean, I don't
are we
argue.
going to call
Yeah.
it a semi-coup d'etat? I mean, the president
semi-
changing the date of the election.
It was attempted. An
Attempted
Constitutional coup.
An attempted constitutional coup is what they're calling
Yeah.
it in Senegal.
Yeah.
Because the president felt he had the powers to do it.
that.
Their law is and the constitution is very different to that of the Gambia. Because if you watch the speech, he started 5 minutes in French and then the other 12 minutes in Wolof. He said in the French bit, which I could understand, he said the same section of the constitution which allows me to call the election allows me to call the election off. But
He
they
said
took it
that.
to the courts, and the courts said, no, you don't have that power. And he said straight away, I accept the decision of the court. So that shows you maturity.
That's
And-
democracy
and
there.
It's
and
democracy
maturity.
because he would have gone down in infamy if he had gone against the decision of the
Yeah.
court.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting one because this is the same court that he accused of, corruption.
A few years back,
No, just a few
no,
weeks
I said
ago.
few
Okay,
years
uh-huh.
back,
Mm.
there was a leader in the Gambia.
Mm.
You're not even, you dare not even go to the court. He said no, it's no.
Yeah, so we are happy that he's taking, the court seriously and all of that, as he should.
As he should.
Yeah,
as
as he should,
Yeah.
which is a good
But,
thing. So we're just waiting for the election date,
Yeah.
and relative calm has also been restored.
Yeah, and
because
I'm glad
everybody-
you mentioned relative calm because for us here in the Gambia, if there's instability in Senegal, initially it will spill over to the
Yes.
Gambia, and we don't want that.
We don't.
And so that had been the fear among above anything else really. That had been the fear that instability there would look at Casamance, how many times that spilled over
Exactly.
here. So we're glad that stability appears to have returned. Although there were demonstrations yesterday
Yeah.
calling for the election date to be announced. So we wait for that.
We wait for that,
We wait
right?
for that.
But thank you so much, Mr. Ade, for joining us.
Thrilled
It's
and
always good to have you here.
again, wish all those who are enjoying the public holiday. I
Yeah.
hope you enjoy it, and we're here working. But
Yeah,
as you can
those
see, it's not
enjoying
really
the
like
public
work.
holiday. Good for you, because we are here, and we have to be here.
We have to be here. The news has to come at 8 o'clock.
Yes.
And all that kind of stuff.
Will you be a journalist next fall? Yes.
Not if I can. If I have anything to do with it, no.
Oh, all right. We will go for a short break, and when we come back, the show continues. Do stay.
Never before in the Gambia, QCell is giving you an unbeatable offer. Activate our 5G network on your 5G enabled phone and enjoy free internet for 7 days. Yes, you heard that right. Activate QCell's 5G on your phone and experience what true 5G internet feels like. Get your QCell SIM cards activated today at the following care centers: Banjul, Senegambia, Brikama, Bursubi Turntable, Bakau Airport, and Kairaba Avenue headquarters. Rush now and be part of the future with QCell's 5G. Free internet for 7 days only with QCell. For more information, call QCell Customer Care on 111. QCell Senior Bus. We innovate. Orders follow. Terms and conditions apply. Do your banking the smart way with the new Ajib Bank mobile app. Transfer money to any bank account in the Gambia. Top up airtime for all networks. Pay utility bills. Check your account balance and view mini statements. Request for ATM cards. Request for checkbooks and more in a single touch. So, do your banking in a smart way. Do your banking now with Ajib Bank mobile app. Every time is banking time. Ajib Bank, your investment partner.
QCell brings you the future with our ultimate bundles. Enjoy the best voice and data bundle plans in one package. Get unlimited data packages with flexible validity and enjoy what true internet feels like. Get 30 minutes of on-net and off-net calls with 5 gigabytes of data for just $350. Or get bigger bundle packages from 10 gigabytes to 20 gigabytes with over 100 on-net and off-net voice calls and enjoy the fastest internet speed in the Gambia. You can also buy 1-day, 3-day or even 7-day packages and enjoy unlimited data bundles with uncapped speeds. Just dial *343# today and experience the limitless capabilities of the QCell network. *343# should be your favorite code to dial now. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, we innovate, others follow.
Technology has always been at the forefront of our lives, and the way we use it has evolved drastically over the years. With the advent of 5G internet, we are entering a new era of technological innovation that promises to transform the way we live, work, and play. 5G internet is capable of providing data speeds up to 100 times faster than 4G, making it the ideal solution for streaming high-quality videos, playing online games, and downloading large files on the go. 5G internet is already transforming cities across the globe, powering smart cities, self-driving cars, and virtual reality experiences that were once thought impossible. 5G internet is also paving the way for Internet of Things, allowing for seamless connectivity between devices and the creation of a truly connected world. For the first time in the Gambia, QCell is bringing tomorrow's technology to you today with the launch of QCell 5G internet. Get ready to experience the out-of-this-world wonders of QCell's 5G internet. For more information, call 111. QCell. We innovate, others follow.
The future is now with QCell's 5G network. Experience speeds like never before with our new 5G Rocket Fixed Internet plan. Get speeds from 10 Mbps to 100 Mbps. Your 5G-enabled devices. Walk into QCell headquarters to get one of our 5G routers and experience the true feeling of 5G. Only with QCell. QCell brings you the future, tech, innovation, incredible speed. The future is now. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunyabus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Looking for the perfect place to promote your product or place your advert? Look no further.
From that break, if you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning, and I'm here with my amazing co-host Ibrahima Balde. So Ibrahima, we're about to take a look at a very interesting topic, because yesterday during the independence, the president's speech was highly centered on education, especially education for sustainable development, TVET education, that kind of education that is able to solve our societal problems internally. Mr. Ade was here and he talked about how Singapore, it was based on a very good education system. That is why Singapore is Singapore today. And we are happy that we are, joined by an individual who's an educator and has been inspiring a lot of people when it comes to education related matters. Alassane Suso, who's an educator in the United States of America and the founder of NAMI Foundation. And you know what? I've read his story over and over again, and I always put myself in his shoes. I'm like, if I was him, will I be able to survive all of these things? But you know what? God does things and ensures that when you go through certain things, you get to come back to give back to individuals like yourself. So moving on, we also have Mohamed Mustafa Jain, who is the winner of the NAMI Foundation Education Award. Congratulations.
Thank you so
Great. And very young, you know. I was expecting that that award was going to go to like an old man or woman somewhere. So Mr. Suso will tell us why, you know, a young person, because when you hear education, you expect an old principal. So when I saw a young person, I'm like, oh my God, this is really, really
but
good.
I'm not surprised,
Yes.
I mean, to see him winning that.
Nice,
I mean,
yeah.
now the young people are very keen
Yeah.
when it comes to education.
Exactly.
So you
Yeah.
are welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah,
you
so
so
Mr.
very
Suso, it's important that we start with you and, you know, reflect on your story as an individual, leaving the Gambia, going to the United States, and eventually becoming an educator, with all of the challenges that you've been through, you know, to reach where you are today, and now saying to yourself that I have to give back. You know, today you are here years down the line, considering all the challenges that you've been through, and he's awarded under your foundation as part of giving back. How do you feel about that?
First, thank you so much for having us. It's an honor to be here. And it's just a deep feeling of gratitude, because I'm a big believer that to whom much is given, much is required. And your life is going to be one of two things, either an inspiration or a warning. So then therefore, I want to live my life in a way that one of my favorite quotes is like, it's an Indian proverb. It said, you know, when you were born, you cried while the world rejoiced. Live your life in a way that when you die, the world will cry while you rejoice. And I'm a big believer that, you know, because I've been blessed in ways that I have never been, I could have never imagined,
Right.
it is time to look back and give back. And just one point of, it's not the NAMI Foundation Teacher Prize, it's the Gambia Teacher Prize.
Yeah, but it's under the NAMI Foundation.
Yeah, under the NAMI
but
Foundation.
the
name of the prize
Okay,
is the
yeah.
Gambia Teacher Prize,
Okay.
because it's not about an individual. This is a nationwide
Okay,
initiative.
so you want to make sure that
I want
everybody
to-
sees themselves in it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is
Absolutely.
really a good thing. So do you want to delve into your story a little bit? Because I know people who do not know you will be like, what is the story that Jainaba is talking about when it comes to Mr. Suso? So do you want to delve into it a little bit before we move on?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So I went to the States at the age of 16. When I was growing up in this country, I'm visually impaired. Now, when I meet people most of the time, they're like, how? Well, what they don't realize is that when we say visual impairment, people think that you're holding a stick, you know, walking. If you are functioning on your own, that means you must be okay. No, there's a lot of ways that people have visual challenges. So mine is called retinitis pigmentosa. It's a rare degenerative eye disease whereby you gradually lose your vision as you get older. So when I get to the States, because when I was in this country, they couldn't diagnose it. So when I was in school, it was constant struggle of trying to figure out a way to survive in the classroom, because it was such an embarrassment for me that I hid it as much as I could. You know, besides my family, no one else knew about it. And I went through that struggle my whole life until I wrote a memoir in 2016. That's when basically almost all my close friends and other people that I engage with realized, the severity of my visual impairment. But then as a result of writing that book, it gave a lot of people hope that, well, this person is going through all these things. Despite that, he still finds ways to, do what he can. Because one of the things I preach a lot to my students, and when I, do workshops or keynotes, is that we all have exactly what we need to run the race that was designed for us.
Right.
So the challenge we have in life is comparing yourself to other people. So then that always creates a problem. Like I tell my students, if you look around this building, there's a lot of great teachers. There are a lot of things that they have that I might not be able to do. Yet I have what I need to guide you all throughout the course of this year.
Right.
And I'm hoping that, people could learn, that story. And I became a teacher as a result of a family tragedy. My baby sister Binta was diagnosed with hepatitis B. And we tried a lot of, processes in this country, medical-wise, both here and Senegal, without, any success. So we tried to bring her to the States, and we failed in that process because she was denied the visa. And she passed away in 2008. She passed away at 7:30 in the evening, and then by 3 a.m. our grandmother, who raised all of us, Nami, who the foundation is named after, also passed away. So their death gave me a new sense of purpose. So because when I came to their funeral, that was my first year of going to university in the States. at the time, honestly, I had no idea what I wanted to study. So, but then, that tragedy gave me a reason to fight. And when I went back to the States, I was pursuing immigration law. That's why I studied political science and history, to become an immigration lawyer so that another family would not go through what my family had been through.
Right.
Yeah, long story short on that, when I was ready to go to law school, after passing the law school admission exams, putting my application together, one of my professors asked why I wanted to become a lawyer. Obviously, I told her the story and what my family had been through. She paused for a while and said, Al-Hassan, if that's really your mission, I'm not sure law school is the place for you. I was like, why? By the time you defend those kids in the courtroom, one of two things would be happening. They would either be heading to jail or they will be in the process of getting deported. Why don't you think about doing something that will ensure they never even have to see the courtroom?
Exactly.
And today, that's exactly what I do. Because each and every day, those immigrants who fly all over the world to come to the United States for a better life, I get to engage with them and help prepare them for a successful future. And I cannot think of a better life than that.
Yeah, inspirational, really inspirational.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Mohammed Mustafa Jan, you're the winner of the National Teachers Award, am I right? So hearing his story and the person who came up with the foundation that actually spearheaded this award and you won, how do you feel?
Yeah, as of now, what I can say is that I'm in a state of more love and joy. And again, I crave his indulgence in trying to deliver an essential service to the people of this nation, especially the teachers. Because all what I know is that teachers have been grappling with challenges, and then in fact, I can say that we belong to a class called the proletariats, and that is the lower class, because even in our various societies, we know that teachers are marginalized in other way around. We are not respected because of they think to themselves that it is a low-paid job. We are not motivated. Instead, we are demotivated. So the NAMI Foundation came up with this initiative so as to be able to recognize and appreciate the effort of the teachers. That is the services that they are delivering in the length and breadth of the country. Yeah, really makes me motivated in order for me to be able to do more in the teaching field and even want to stay connected to the teaching field. And then his story really inspired me a lot, indeed.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Suso, what is the selection mode, to award these teachers? What is the process?
Yes. So what when I thought about this idea, I looked at the different models within the U.S. and other parts of the world, because I've been fortunate to be part of a number of selection committees from the U.S. National Teacher of the Year and the New York State Teacher. So I put those the best practices of each of the elements and put it together to create the Gambia Teacher Prize. So the first step of the process is for them to put their applications in, which they all wrote an essay about, an educational philosophy. And then the national judges shortlisted, a few finalists out of the first cohort. And then they went to each of the regions to interview those finalists. And then they
So it was decentralized?
It was decentralized, yes. So it was a decentralized process. So they interviewed each of the, the regions, and then they selected the regional winners from. So it wasn't only the national judges, there was also regional judges involved. So the national judges collaborated with the regional judges because they know these people on the ground. So we just don't want to come in and say, okay, this is, no, let's collaborate and let's make it a nationwide process. So those regional judges, along with the national judges, selected the regional winners, which Mr. Jan happened to be one of those 7. So once those regional winners were selected, then the entire cohort of the national judges went to each region to spend a day in each classroom to watch them teach, interview their principals, their community members, their students, and the PTA. So because again, it's a community process. So after a week of going through the entire country, all 7 of them, by the way, doing that, they came to the conclusion that Mr. Jan should be the one leading.
And that's a very tedious process. How long does it take for you to put all this thing together? It's a tedious process, I think.
It was it definitely is a tedious process. So we started in July. That's when the selection committee was formed. And, we have met every Sunday. One of the things I do have to say, all week long, I have been crying a lot because this was just an idea a year ago. But, the men and women of this country, took this initiative and made it their own.
Nice.
There were so many individuals who, day in and day out, took their own time, resources to ensure that this becomes successful.
Okay.
And, it's great that, it's through the NAMI Foundation, but the reason it's called the Gambia Teacher Prize, this is an award for the country, not just for our foundation.
Yeah. So, Mr. Jan, that was really a very, very tough criteria, considering that it was all the regions involved and you came out as, the national winner. So why do you think, you came out as the national winner, out of all the other 7 regions?
Okay, what I know is that all the teachers are delivering a good service in the country.
Okay.
But Denzel Washington said that you hang around the barber shop long enough, sooner or later you're going to get your hair cut. And what that means is that do what you want to do, but do it in the right cause, and it is going to pay dividend tomorrow. I am out there in the provinces, but all what I know is that I am also delivering a selfless sacrifice to the pupils without expecting anything in return. And there are clubs and associations that have initiated so as to be able to introduce a mentorship program in order to be able to transform the lives of the pupils. And then I even go extra mile to be able to organize an educational field trip so as to be able to visit places that are historically significant, and also pay a visit to the government institutions so as to be able to expose the students to the outside environment. And then I know that it was a surprise to some of the people, because they think to themselves that a national winner is going to come from Region 1 or Region 2. So even at that time when I was in the school, I told them that this is going to be a very tight contest. Yes, of course, despite the fact that I'm the youngest. And then I know that I have started teaching not less than even 6 years, I can say.
Okay.
But that doesn't necessarily, the length of service doesn't matter. What matters is you as a teacher,
impact.
what you offer. Yeah, that is what matters. And then that is why at that time I was not even afraid. I said to myself, I can do this. And then of course, yes, I can emerge victorious. And in the end solely justified.
And you did,
me.
yes. I mean,
Congratulations.
this is going to be a turning point for people, the way they portray teachers.
Right.
Like, I mean, in the Gambia, when you did not do well in your grade 12, they'll tell you go and be a teacher. Or a soldier. You understand?
Yeah.
So I think teachers are the most important, but also it's a profession that people don't want to value much. Yeah, so I think this is a very good one.
Yeah,
At least,
Ibrahima, I think the point you just made is very true. In Gambia here, if you fail grade 12, they just ask you to go to Gambia College to go and study teaching or to be a soldier. And I think it's very unfortunate because teachers are supposed to be highly educated individuals because they are dealing
they are
with
molding our kids,
our future, our presidents, our nurses, and everything. So you talked about being in the provinces and doing the right sacrifice. Today, if you will give recommendations to the Ministry of Education or the government in general, what will you give in relation to the plight of teachers in the Gambia, especially rural teachers?
Yes, teachers need motivation, and of course, yes, the welfare of the teachers need to be represented to the apex. I know that Gambia Teachers Union is complementing the effort of the teachers in trying to better their life. But when I am there, all what I know is that I will also stand firm to be able to motivate the teachers in order for them to be able to stay connected to the field. All what I know is that teachers that are normally given the chance to go to the University of the Gambia to pursue their bachelor's degree program, after their bachelor's degree program, they will not want to stay connected to the field simply because of what the low wages and low salary. So I think in terms of ensuring quality education that we always talk about, we know that everybody is a relevant stakeholder when it comes to quality education. Whether you are a parent, a guardian, a teacher, or whether you are working in the sector of education, everybody. But for the graduates also to stay connected to the field of education, then teachers also have to be motivated. And again, I have to go extra mile, but you don't ask me that question, but I think I have to talk about that as well.
Yeah,
that
go
is,
ahead.
many of the students normally go to the college in order for them to pursue their advanced diploma program in School of Education. Well, I have a passion to become a teacher. And of course, yes, I am proud to be a teacher. But there are some of the students that normally go to the college simply because they don't get the chance to go to the university. They don't get the scholarship. And then I will have to thank the MRC Holland Foundation for complementing the effort of the government in terms of giving scholarship to the teachers, especially priority is given to those that are in the provincial Gambia. And I can see that today many of the teachers are with their bachelor's degree. Yeah, but they are not connected to the field of education simply because of the low wages. So instead, teachers should be motivated for them to be able to do more in order to ensure quality education. Yeah.
So Mr. Suso here was in your position a few times in the United States, getting a lot of awards, you know, at the United States as an educator, especially the U.S. State, the New York State Award.
Yes.
You know, you got that.
Yes.
So you were in his position, you know, feeling all good about yourself when it comes to winning these awards due to the good work that you've done. You know, what does those awards mean to you, and how did that contribute to where you are today?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. What those awards mean to me is that people get rewarded in public for what they do for years in private. You know, I have nothing to do with his selection because I was not a part of the judges.
It's good you put out a disclaimer.
Yes,
it's important.
because I found out the same way that the whole country found out. So, you know, at the OIC on Thursday, but I'm only saying that because having a young person in this position is a great thing for the country as well. Because when I became New York State teacher, even today, I'm the youngest member of our cohort. You know, many of them have been teaching for 25, 30 years. When I became New York State teacher, I was only teaching for 5 years. And I remember when I was first selected to go through the process, I was like, how? And then one of my teacher mentor who mentored me in my first year of teaching said, you must go for this. I said, I can't. I'm too young for this. Well, you have done more in 5 years than most teachers will do their entire career.
Nice.
And I think, you know, that's what it is. It's not how long you live, it's how you live. So then therefore I am, these awards for me, it's not an individual recognition. It represents what you have done within your community. And it highlights and uplifts your entire community. Because today, you know, when I became the teacher of the year, one of the things I have done now is create a pipeline, because in New York and throughout the US, having a black male educator is very rare, you know, especially, you know, in the urban areas. That's very rare. So what I have done since I became teacher of the year in New York is create a pipeline of whereby I go into high schools to talk to young black people to tell them, well, first I just share my story. And by sharing my story and the impact that I have made over the past now 12 years of teaching, they now realize that, you know, this is a noble profession, and if you want to live a meaningful life, I personally cannot think of a much better career than teaching. And what I'm hoping, you know, these honorees, not only Mr. Jan, but his, you know, other colleagues, they become ambassadors, and it's not about being a celebrity of teachers. Yes, it comes with a lot of perks. I'm glad they got all that. But now you are a role model. What would you do with that? And I'm hoping they could use that.
But allow them to do their celebrity thing. Allow them to shine. I celebrity like. But before we, you know, we have a few minutes to go. But while you are in the United States and being a teacher, you tried by all means to also just keep your African identity. How were you able to do that? You know, in a different culture with a lot of influence, but your African identity did stay?
Yeah, absolutely. People ask me that a lot. Man, you don't have the American accent. You've been living there for so long. Well, and I remember one time one of the journalists was interviewing me. But when you speak in America like this, do people understand you?
Yeah, you're supposed to do this whole...
Yeah, all the cool things. I said, well, as Croger Mack said, before I speak, I have something of value to say. It's not the accent. It's about what's coming out of your mouth. And I think for me, you know, what's coming out of your mouth starts with, you know, my roots. You know, I grew up in this country from a griot family. The values and the character that I have today were instilled in me from the Gambia. And those are what carries me today into the United States. So, you know, I strive a lot to highlight, because, you know, if you look at many of my award ceremony videos, many of them are wearing my huge African attire, you know, kaftan, warambuba, Nyati Abdu, because it is who I am, first and foremost. And that's nothing to be, you know, ashamed of. And I remember, you know, when I was in high school in the US, my first year, I wore my African attire, and one of my teachers was very upset about that. And, you know, he was like, you know, if people want to wear their funny clothes, they should stay in their country.
Look at that.
This is America. And 20 years later, I became teacher of the year. I was given the keynote at the New York State School Board Association. I was wearing my huge African afghan. He was sitting right on the second.
What a shame.
Yes, he was sitting right in the second row. I gave my speech. They all lined up because they all want to take pictures with you because they're teacher of the year. And then he was in the line. And then when he got to me, he said, I always knew you were going to be successful.
Oh my God, knock it off. Didn't you tell him, get away?
Yeah.
You know, like, this is not going to work.
Yeah. So, but,
Yeah.
you know, words are important.
They are.
What he said to me was very demeaning.
Yeah.
But it didn't take away the fact that I'm first and foremost an African.
And you're proud of it.
And there's nothing to be
Yeah,
ashamed of.
so we have
and
3 minutes to go.
Yes. And one thing, if I can highlight
Yes.
that, please. Malcolm X said,
Yes.
a black person will never be respected around the world until and unless Africa is respected.
Exactly.
It is up to us to respect this place so others can
change the
respect us
We
around
have
the
1
world.
minute. Control
Yes.
room.
Yeah.
Mail you 2 minutes.
Yeah,
there.
so finally-
finally,
Yes.
you know, you won the Teacher Prize Award. You got $100,000. So I'm not sure. You know, 100,000. Ibrahim, hanate some more them nak. Ah, parce que 100,000. Ak economy bi fum tolu ni.
Bado.
Ah, Ibrahim.
Bul worry, gewel la. Gewel la.
Yeah, well, I'm just teasing you. But moving on, what plans do you have quickly? We have a minute to go.
Okay, first of all, before I talk about the plan, why not I compliment his effort?
Yes,
Quickly, we
Of
have
course,
to-
yes,
1 minute.
Mr. Suso is a beacon of hope indeed, and then an icon of hope to the people in the society. And then Denzel Washington in his speech said that when you get something, read back to the people, each one
Teach
to
one.
teach one. And when you are to aspire, do not aspire to make a living, aspire to make a difference. And then that is what you've done. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And then, of course, yes, for me, all what I want to do is quality education. That is what I want to be ensured in the school system. And then, of course, they are supposed to be a massive investment. Teachers need to be motivated. And then also, again, they are supposed to be what we call availability of learning materials for the students, especially those that are in the provinces. And then not only that, parents teachers association also need to be strengthened very well, that they need to attend the meeting. Some of the parents don't care, they don't even come to. That is why some of the students are smokers today. They are dropping out of school. So that is it. So there are a lot more things that I want to do. And then also want to introduce a mentorship program for the students, especially in my school. Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm happy that you highlighted the teachers, because if you go to a school like Marina, the teachers, the parents, they actually handle everything
The
to school
PTA,
before, because, you know, they put in money and everything. But, you know, I'm sure we'll be able to have more time to have, you know, more sessions. And you on Youth Dialogue, I'll be coming for you. We should come all over to the, you know, region to take a look at the amazing work that you're doing. I think I'm highly interested in that. And good luck. And Mr. Suso, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sonko. I'm Ms. Sonko, and
Yeah.
then thank you, Mr. Ibrahima, for having
so that
us.
is all we have time for. Ibrahima, seems
Yeah.
we will be able to enjoy the rest of our public holiday, or I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, from here home.
Home, them no palikuwa, because we deserve half of the public holiday at least. So till we come your way tomorrow with another interesting program. Have a nice day.